In today's show, I have Alexa Erickson here to share her birth story. She's a writer and poet, an RBK graduate, which is how we met through the Radical Birthkeeper School in this year's cohort, 2022. She's a lover of tea, reading, and spending time outdoors. She currently lives in Fort Collins, Colorado with her farmer husband and her two beautiful children. Her passion is helping women birth with joy outside the medical system, and she offers birth coaching and healing sessions. Hi, Alexa.
Hello, Emily. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Let's dive in.
Yeah.
My goodness. So I have two kids. They are just about now 2.5 and 3.5. So, well, Irish twins. And there's a little fly here. All right. Really wanted in on the story. So with my first, I had a home birth with Midwives, and I knew a bit about kind of I don't know, like knowing your rights in regards to birth. I mean, I already would never birth in a hospital because your rights are just like stripped at the door. Like, no. And I wanted to be listened to if I had anything to say in birth, and I didn't want my birth to be a battleground. So I went the home birth route with my first, and I had found the Freebirth Society podcast, which I loved, and I listened to the whole time because I was like, oh, women don't need anybody. So surely if I have a midwife, like that's just like an added bonus, right? And I mean, long story short, I realized it's actually just sort of inviting like a less hostile version of a hospital into your home. And the labor and birth itself was pretty hands-off, but they're still there. It's still like a weird power trip where, you know, like at one point I started pushing and I looked over and I said, is it okay that I'm pushing? Which is just like, what? You shouldn't have to ask that during your birth, even your first. Like, you should be tuning inward, not outward, and to somebody who obviously, you know, isn't even going to know what's going on with your body truly. So just little things like that. And essentially after the baby was born was really where I got turned off to like the medical system, even like a home birth, which is what I thought was better. Like it's fed as it's like better than even a hospital birth, you know, they listen to you and whatever. And I think it's just like that in the end, that wasn't really true for me. And, you know, without doing the whole birth story after the baby was born, there's just a lot of like their hands on my baby and, oh, I have to check for tears and your placenta isn't here. And it's, you know, oh, it's been 45 minutes and you need to pee before we're able to leave. And it's so managed.
How did you find these midwives? Like how'd you find them?
Oh, I had just searched midwives, I think online, because there weren't that many in the area I was in. And I knew that they booked up pretty fast. So the second I realized, like I found out I was pregnant, I wanted to make sure I found some care. And again, even though I listened to the Freebirth Society podcast, it didn't really click in my mind that was like an option or something people did. So I never really considered it because it didn't like, I don't know, it didn't register.
I totally know what you mean, because that's what happened when I listened to an episode as well, and that was a whole year ago. And then when I got pregnant, I still was looking for a doula or midwife.
Yeah. And that you reminded me, I forgot I had a doula at that time as well. It was somebody I had hired a doula. It was a girl I liked, and then she ended up canceling on me, I think week 36, to go take some sort of cool opportunity out of state. And it's like, good for you. And then I was in the lurch. So I ended up hiring somebody else who I didn't have much time to build a connection with. Let's see, Fox, he's my eldest, came at 39 weeks. And in the end, she didn't really do anything because I'm pretty, you know, I didn't want anything. Like I didn't want anybody's hands on me. I didn't need any essential oils. Like it's just more like me and myself and I. And then after baby was born, she was like hanging around, and it was her first home birth that she witnessed. And it was just more of like her selfish time. She was like there. And I was like, oh, like, I said, like, do you want to go? And she's like, no, like I'll stay. And I was like, no, like really, it's okay. Like I said it because you're, again, having people in your home, there's like a part of you that's trying to host. There's a part of you that's trying to like be, I don't know, behave appropriately, whatever that means when you're like trying to birth, and make a connection with your newborn baby. And so I didn't just outright say, I couldn't even realize like what I wanted to say was like, can you please leave?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds kind of rude. So I was trying to say it in a different way and she didn't leave, and like, so just stuff like that. So when I got pregnant with my second, we had moved. So my first I had in California. It was in Northern California, Mount Hamilton. It's like up on a mountain, which was hilarious because also like our power and our water went out like during birth, and it's great. Well, that's it. That's a story for another time. And so let's see. I have to remember when. I think we moved when I was like 18 weeks pregnant or something like that. So I had found out I was pregnant, and I reached out to one of the two midwives that I had there with Fox, because one of them was more of a wise woman. She had done births unlicensed. She eventually licensed and like gave a more wise woman vibe. I connected with her more. I think if it was only her at my birth, things also would have been a little bit different. So I reached out to her and like let her know, and I had one appointment with her before we left, where I heard the heartbeat, which was just like really nice and comforting with the, I think it's the fetal Doppler. And then we moved, and so then it's kind of like a fresh slate. I was like, what do I want to do with this birth? Because then the idea of free birth was actually more in my mind. I had learned more. And it just was like kind of a cool idea, but I was like, well, okay, what would that look like? You know, what would having a midwife in this area look like? I don't even know the midwives. Let's go interview some midwives and see.
So how many years later is this? When was Finn born?
Finn was born, so I got pregnant, let's see, 4 months after I had Fox. And so Finn was born a little over a year later. So 13 months later. Yeah. So I'm like pregnant with my baby, you know, like, and so yeah, I looked for midwives, and I also was interested in like, okay, well, what if I birth on my own, but I want some postpartum support or something, like, would I want somebody to come check on me and the baby? Again, I'm like learning/unlearning during this whole process.
Well, can I backtrack?
Yeah, I know. I covered a lot.
With Fox, how was postpartum?
It was really hard. Yeah, I had like a lot of anxiety, and almost like OCD level, like control type issues, where I was also isolated on this mountain, and I had like no friends, no family around, which I think was a big part of it. But I also knowing later I had, oh my gosh, not Pitocin, but what do they give you? What's something that they give a lot of moms to get the placenta out?
It's Pitocin.
It is Pitocin?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why I thought it was something else. Yeah. So I had gotten that, and now I know it's highly linked to like depression and anxiety. And I definitely can see that now. And a lot of like what happened immediately postpartum just like emotionally shut me down a bit. So like starting from that place was not great for me. Like I remember a specific part of the postpartum, which in California, they told me I had to do newborn testing, like screening tests, and they prick your baby's foot and they have to get all this blood on these little drops of this paper, and your baby's just screaming. And it takes a while because they have to get a certain amount of blood. And I'm just like holding my screaming baby, and I was either gonna like lose it or not. And again, like they don't sell it to you like, or you could not. It's just like, this is required. This is a have to do thing.
The midwives said that. It's
yeah. which was like a lot of what happened. And again, like knowing what I know now, like it just feels like dangerous to invite the medical system into your home, because it's just people in a different setting telling you like things that you have to do, managing things, but it's not true. You don't have to do them, but they don't say that.
Yeah. How was breastfeeding with Fox?
Yeah. Oh, so well, just to continue that, like that's when I shut down, like having my scream, and I don't think I'm like emotionally turned on for a long time. So postpartum was hard. Breastfeeding was great, super easy, just like the easiest thing in the world. And I breastfed my entire pregnancy. So my nipples were a little sensitive once I got pregnant, but besides that, piece of cake. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. Should we jump back in? Wait,
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Okay. Midwives.
Yeah. So it's about a year later.
So it's a year later after a tough postpartum, and just like a lot of like, oh, is it too hot in his room? Is it too cool? Like, oh, he should be napping at this time and this time and this time. And again, that's just like a lot to do with the postpartum that I had, kind of saying like I wasn't good enough, and society being like, this is what should be happening. So it was a big learning curve. And let's see, so when I started looking for midwives, I interviewed a couple, and I also would ask them during these interviews, do you do care if I just birthed? Like if I didn't birth with you, do you do any care? There's a name for it. It's like matriarch. It's something, it's not a term that was like widely used, but I did Google it, and it's like a specific level of care where it's like only after the birth. And they would like look at me like I was crazy, like I was insulting them. They'd be like, no, I don't do that.
Interesting. Like they're only there before birth, during pregnancy, and during the birth, and that's it.
Like they just thought it was like ridiculous that I would be considering, I guess, free birth. Like, because I didn't say I'm having a free, like I said it in other words. I said, okay, and like if I didn't want to hire you for the birth part, like do you know, come over? Like, so they knew what I was saying, but I just like felt more comfortable kind of like for our sake, like treading around. Yeah, and it was like, it was such a turn off. I was like, what? Like they kind of turned into mean people, and some of them started wanting to manage me. I wasn't even their client. This was just an interview. They were already saying certain things that was like, well, if this happened, we'd go to the hospital and we'd transfer. And one even emailed me after and said, knowing your history and what you told me, which was like, I don't even, they bring their own like baggage into it. And she's like, you know, I'd feel only comfortable if you were like, I don't know, taking these supplements and doing this check. And, you know, while we really have to maybe see if you need to transfer, like, it's like, what? So anyways, none of the midwives here were like a go. I mean, not even close. And so I was like, okay, great. Like free birth it is. Like, it was kind of like the nail like in the coffin that I was like, yeah, this solidifies my decision. So the only thing I was worried about was my husband, like feeling comfortable and happy and like supportive with the decision. Because it's, you know, there's a difference between having a partner, like a husband who will be like, okay, if this is what you want to do, and a partner who's like, okay, like I'm on board. What do you need me to do? Like, it's good to have the support.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mentioned that to him, and he said, whatever you want to do with your body, I trust you, and you know, that's your decision to make. However, I would really like more information. Like I'd really like to be more knowledgeable. And I was like, yeah, me too. Because I also don't have a ton of knowledge about, I don't know, birthing by myself. Like, what supplies would I need? Like what would I need to feel comfortable? Do I need any tinctures?
Yeah.
Like,
and did you know anyone personally who's done a free birth at this time?
No, I didn't. That probably would have been helpful, but I did not. So I just had that podcast, the Freebirth podcast, for like inspirational stories and stuff. So I started looking into their website, and they have a course. I think it's the Complete Guide to Free Birth. So I ended up taking that course, And my husband was supposed to take it with me, but mostly it was me taking it and like giving him the cliff notes.
And how many weeks pregnant were you when you bought the course?
That's a good question. I was late. I was like close enough that I was cramming because it's a long course. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I should have bought this earlier. I didn't realize like how it's very informative. It's a great course.
Very thorough.
I didn't realize how thorough, and I wanted to watch like everything, right? I didn't want to skip anything. And a lot of it by that point I already like knew, but it was nice to finally find a community to like reflect it back to me and say like, yes, your intuition is right. And like, this is normal and this is okay. Because I didn't have that anywhere. So, yeah, I can't remember how pregnant I was. And I didn't do prenatals. Like I didn't establish care here. I did have that wise woman, Serena is her name, who had been at my birth. And again, like felt a lot more comfortable with her. And I had some bleeding with this pregnancy, with the last pregnancy with Finn, which was like very new to me and very scary. So I reached out to Serena, the midwife, and was like, told her, you know, I was having some bleeding. She's like, well, okay. Like, you know, she's like, are you cramping at all? And it's like, no. She's like, oh, well, you know, okay. Like, I do appreciate that she almost like only gave advice if I was like, can you give me advice? Can you say something? Like if I was really looking for it. Because again, like I was still doing a lot of unlearning and like learning to believe in my body and just like accept what was happening. And you know, coming off of my first birth where it's like, oh, you need to do this. It's like, you really have to put in a lot of emotional and mental work. And, you know, so she's like, if you want, and it happened, I think I bled a couple times, just like very close together. It was right when we had first moved, which, I mean, I was hauling boxes around, like we trimmed the tree in front and I was like, hauling lumber. I was like hauling lumber and then going to like a workout class that same day where I was like wearing Fox and working out and pregnant.
Oh my God.
And breastfeeding, and the altitude here is really high. So no wonder my body was like, slow it down. But I was just kind of like stubborn like that and just did a lot of work. And I got some cramp bark like by her recommendation, and that helped a lot. And that was fun because we have a local apothecary. So I was able to go there and be like, wow, this is a great resource. They have everything. So besides kind of calling her when I was bleeding, and then I asked her in that same vein, hey, I think I'm going to do a free birth. Like, what are your thoughts on that? She was like, you do whatever you want. Like, you do what you're comfortable. You know, she was like, what do you mean? What are my thoughts?
Yeah.
And I kind of was like, I know, well, okay, like you were at my last birth. Like, do you think I'm a good candidate? Like, I was looking for an outside okay, which I know we don't need, but I guess that's what I was searching for. And she said, yes, I think you're a great candidate. And I was like, okay. And it was nice to hear. So that was my prenatal care. Because I didn't need anything. I didn't want any tests. I don't know, had learned enough about the body and knew that if for some reason something was off with my body, I would recognize it. Yeah, so that was kind of the prenatal thing. And then I think that covers. Should I jump into the birth story? Do you have any questions about before the birth?
Well, we can share with the audience why prenatal care in the system is just not beneficial. It's a way to what's the word?
Pathologize. Yeah.
Pathologize.
Yeah.
Pregnancy. And even having ultrasounds done. Ultrasounds are so inaccurate, and there's been like studies where women decide to abort their babies due to some abnormality, where later on they find out, you know, the women who didn't abort and were pathologized that the baby had something, didn't have it.
Yeah, I agree. I know those I've had firsthand like accounts of people who, you know, it's an ectopic pregnancy and they literally go in for surgery to remove this baby and the baby is not
Mm-hmm.
even, it's fine.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's the tests that they created are really interesting. And I would just say, like, once you do the research and you look into like facts and um, like percentages of things that are very rare that could happen with pregnancy and just likely won't happen. And if they do happen, the symptoms that are very noticeable for it that, you know, you don't need testing for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just don't really need a doctor to tell you how you're doing, I
Mm-hmm.
guess.
Yeah.
Um, and, you know, there's some things where I guess if you need genetic testing or something, like you're very concerned about that, yes, you're not necessarily going to have like a symptom of that, but like you will find out at birth, like mostly. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I had a great pregnancy. I mean, just no issues there. Yeah, yeah, I had to eat a ton though to like grow the baby and then feed my other
Oh
baby.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that was, and I'm like usually anemic, and so I always just pay attention to that during pregnancy. If I start again, like I totally get symptoms of it. I don't need like a blood test to tell me. Like I get tired and like I might get a headache or two or like get dizzy and I'm like, oh, let me up my iron. Let me
Mm-hmm.
get my spirulina and chlorella and
Yeah.
my spinach and my smoothie. And, you know, it's, yeah, it's just very obvious. Or beef liver. Beef liver is great.
Absolutely. Yep. Well, yeah, let's dive into your story.
I had prepped Ryan already, my husband, for like the few things that I wanted him to do during birth. I did have him read this short book, Home Birth on Your Own Terms, which it's just a really quick read and kind of give some basics and stuff. And it was just like, all right, so he has like a basic idea. Here you go. So he had read that, and his jobs, the jobs I gave him were like watch Fox because I'm like a mama bear. So if I had Fox, like I mean, my brain, I'd be in my logic thinking brain. Like I don't even know. Labor probably would last like 10 days on and
Yeah.
off if I was like
Uh-huh.
a child. Um, and so take care of Fox and like fill the birth tub, you know. And then I told him a couple things like you can ask, oh, have you peed? Or like, do you need some water? Because like hydration and keeping your bladder empty were like important to me. Or like food, you know, do you need a snack? Stuff like that. So pretty basic, like other than that, I was like, we had like a, I don't know if it's a bi-level or tri-level. The houses here are like much different than the houses in California because they've got like basements and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But I was just like, he stayed on the main floor and I stayed upstairs, which is where our bedroom was, which is where we set up the birth tub and stuff.
And you
So
bought this birth tub on your own, like from
I
like
rented it actually.
okay, okay.
I was like, am I gonna have a third child? Because then it would pay out to like, you know, like just buy it. But I was like, I don't know. And I also didn't feel like the cleanup and deflating it and all that. And like there was a local doula in town who would just rent it for I think it
Oh,
was like $100.
okay.
It's like, okay, there, I've got the pump, I've got the liner, I've got like twinkle lights that go under. I'm like, let's rent it.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so we rented that. And I think she dropped it off at like 37 or 38 weeks, or I don't know. So we had that kind of set up. And the night before, let's see, we did an early Valentine's. So Finn was born February 9th. And February 8th, like that was a Sunday. I want to say it was Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And the Saturday before, we went out to like a nice dinner. And we don't eat out much. So it was like, it's all very luxurious. And we had Fox, and Fox ate like so much food. It was so cute. And we kind of had our little early Valentine's because I think I just like knew it was the full moon and like some snow coming that weekend. So I was like, okay, that's a birth environment. Like, um, so we went out, we ate, and then I actually went to a women's circle that night. Cause again, like, I think I was like I was in this place of like, I think this could happen. Like, I want to encourage it. Like, I want to be open to this happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I like had never left Fox. He had just turned a year, right? His birthday's in January. Yeah, I'm very attached to my babies when they're young. And I breastfeed. I don't do any bottles, so I don't, it's like, what am I going to do for like an hour, right? Like, you know, because they eat like every 2 hours.
Yeah.
I know some babies eat different, but my kids mostly eat every 2 hours. Um, and so it was like a big deal for me to go to this women's circle by myself for like 2 hours. So I put him to bed and I go to this women's circle and just like soak in the energy, you know, and somebody had like a couple, I don't know, an 8-week-old or something, and I like held the baby because I'm like, okay, oxytocin. And it was really sweet. Like they all gathered around me at the end and kind of did like some chanting, and it was like, it was really good. It was, I'm really glad I went. It was really good energy. And like, I think that was the first women's circle I had done here too. And it was just lovely. And so I came home feeling like so refreshed and invigorated. And then Fox woke up like almost like right when I got home. It's like he knew. And so then I went to settle him, and he ended up needing me the entire night. Like he was like not really going back to sleep. And I'm 39 weeks pregnant at this point. So I've got my huge belly and Fox on top, you know, like sleeping. And I always say like he knew it was the last night that he was going to be the baby. Yeah, it's so funny how kids can sense that. So he was on me all night, and I finally got him like asleep around 4 a.m. Like he slept on me a little bit, and then I felt like, okay, let me try and put him down. So I put him down at 4, and I went and tried to get some rest, and he's up at 6. He was always up at 6. It's like, doesn't matter if you didn't sleep all night, he's up at 6. So like I got 2 hours, and you know, just like woke up with him and was like, that's fine. You know, at that point you're a mom, and he was I don't know if I want to say not the best sleeper, because that sounds like not a nice thing to say, but he needed attention. Like his whole first year of life was sleeping, a lot of attention. And so I was used to being sleep deprived. So I got up and I went to the bathroom, and I noticed like a little bit of blood. And for my previous experience, like I don't have any symptoms earlier than labor. Like there's no practice sensations, there's no like cramping or anything really, like maybe pressure, but like really it's just like when I saw it and I was like, today's the day. Like it's so there's a little bit of blood. And so I had invited a dear friend of mine to be a birth photographer from California, and she was flying in that day. So I asked my husband to go get the guest room ready because we hadn't gotten it ready yet. So we went downstairs and started getting that ready. And I kind of felt like, oh, like I think I'm feeling things, but like I'm not going to pay attention to it. One of my preferences for labor is just like denial. Like it's a coping technique for me. So we started getting it ready, and I remember like Fox pulled on the cord of a lamp and it almost fell on him, and I like lunged to catch it, and I had like a bigger sensation when I did that. So I was like, okay, like it's real, like I'm not making things up. And I also had, let's see, we did that. I'm trying to remember the timeline exactly. Oh, and I remember, so I asked my husband about the water heater too, because of my last birth, like our water had gone out and stuff, and I finally came back on, and the water heater couldn't keep up, so they were like boiling all the pots and pans. Like, it's just not as fun being in like a lukewarm pool. Like it's, if that, it was just, the effect is not the same. So I did not want that to happen again. So I was like, how long does the water heater take to like catch up and stuff? And like, should we turn it on now? And he's like, oh, I thought you were gonna wait for like early labor to turn it on. And I was like, yeah, for sure. I was just asking. Like, I was just wondering. Like, I didn't.
So he didn't know. He didn't know you felt okay.
I didn't cue him in. Like, I did not, or clue him in. And so he like told me. So I was like, oh, okay. So like mentally logged it so like I would know when to turn it on. And then eventually, let's see. Eventually, I put Fox down for his nap, and again, like I breastfed him, and I got like a stronger sensation. So I was like, okay. I kind of remember being like, all right, I hope I don't have to do that many more times, like because it was like, it's very, I don't know, strong. So he went down for his nap, and I was going to try and nap too, since I didn't sleep, but I could not nap. I think I was just excited.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked my husband to like come up and be intimate, and like I'm a big believer in like having sex brings babies, you know. So it's like, all right, let's seal this deal. Let's make sure it really happens. So yeah, we hung out, and then I asked him to go to Trader Joe's. I still haven't told him anything. So then I asked him to go to Trader Joe's because like I'm checking off my like early labor list.
Yeah.
He doesn't know it, right? Like make guest bed, do water heater, like fill fridge, you know. So I told him to go to Trader Joe's and gave him a list. And then he goes, and yeah, things start slowly picking up. I think I was just cleaning, and you know, like with Fox, I did kind of the same. I made cookies and like played card games and just like anything to just like casually go about the day. So then Fox got up, and it just like really ramped up, I think, from like our little oxytocin session. And so then I was gonna wait till Ryan got home to be like, hey, it's happening. But it was like slowly progressing, and you know, I was like bouncing on my ball, and Fox was like, oh, that looks fun, and you know, hold me, mama, and bounce, you know. And I was like, oh, like that wasn't fun, holding him and trying to bounce and like focusing. So I called Ryan, and I was like, he didn't answer. I thought it'd be really cute if he was in Trader Joe's. And I was like, you know, if he was like, I'm having a baby.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. I know, right? Didn't happen. But so then I texted him. I'm like, hey, just so you know, again, the language I used, I was like, I think I'm having contractions. I know I'm having contractions. Like, I know I'm having surges.
Was it so he didn't get psyched out? Like,
I think it was so both of us didn't get psyched out. Because part of it is like mentally protecting me. Like, it could take a very long time. It very well could not happen today. Like, it's almost like a reverse psychology thing where I just like to like keep myself calm. And then also just like to keep him calm. Like I kind of like just doing things by myself, but like lone wolf style, you know? And so I just downplay everything. So I don't know, that way it's not like dramatic, and it's not like if it does take long, I don't exactly know how to explain it, but it's what works for me.
Yeah, I totally get it. And the stories I've heard, even with me, when my water broke, we were going to bed, and I wasn't like, oh my God, my water broke. I was like, I didn't say anything, right? I wanted my husband to sleep. So yeah, I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how sometimes you do that. My water broke first with Fox, with my first, and I was like, oh, and my husband's like, what? And I was like, well, either I just peed, or you know, he's like, or what, you know? And I was like, he's like, your water broke. And I was like, well, you know, like we don't know for sure. Like I was like, maybe I did pee.
Yeah.
I knew.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, my water just broke. But I was like, well, let's not jump to any, let's just take it slow.
Right, totally.
Oh my God, it's hilarious. So so I was just I literally did that the entire birth. And so I texted him, and he's like, what? Oh my gosh. I'm like, I'm in the car wash right now, you know? And I was like, no, like, it's fine. It's just it's early labor. Like, just come home when you're done.
And was it early labor?
It was early labor because
Okay.
they weren't super close together. I mean, I wasn't timing them,
Okay.
but just like, you know, you kind of know the rhythm, and I know it was early labor. So that was like 1. I think I texted him at 1. And so he got home, and I was like, oh good, like here's Fox. And I just went upstairs. And when I went upstairs, I was really tired. Like it was like I wanted to sleep standing up just from getting no rest. So I would just pace back and forth. That's what I did with my first birth too. Like something about constant movement just makes me feel almost like I'm progressing things. Like I don't know, like I think I like having the action part of it, and like it's just like soothing, it's repetitive. I just pace. I just walk around. So that's what I was doing. With like my eyes closed, essentially. Like it was really funny.
So you didn't get any sleep?
I didn't get any sleep, but I wasn't like concerned. So for me, I very much trust in our bodies to birth. And you hear stories of women who, you know, their labor starts and then it stalls out at night, and maybe it starts in, and I hear that that can be definitely frustrating, but for me, that's like perfectly designed, because your body is saying, okay, I'm sensing I need some more strength. I'm sensing I need some rest. Like, let me hit pause and then we'll pick up again, which as long as you can sleep, you know, it's good. Sometimes it's a little almost like counterintuitive, but you know, your body needs something and it's saying, let's hit pause. So I was like, I knew my body would do that if I was that tired, like if I was too tired to birth. But I kept, you know, things kept progressing. So I knew I was totally fine. It just was like, okay, like in a very tired state. So yeah, I just paced back and forth. I peed a lot in the bathtub because sitting on the toilet sometimes wasn't super comfortable because of like where the pressure of baby was. So I would kind of like pee standing up, which I was like, this is genius. Like, yeah, who needs a toilet? And yeah, and I know my husband like made me a smoothie. He asked if I wanted something and I said a smoothie. Even though I wasn't hungry, I was like, oh, it'd be good to have there. And like an electrolyte drink. And I couldn't touch the smoothie. I just wasn't hungry at all, but I did, you know, have some of the electrolyte drink. And I was playing music the whole time, which was really nice. I put on Johnny Swim radio on my Pandora because I still use Pandora. Which yeah, they're just, I don't know, it's a nice radio thing. And yeah, I was laboring on the toilet at one point. And Ryan came in just as I had asked him to, and he was like, hey, do you need anything? I was like, no. He's like, how long have you been on the toilet, you know? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, you know, just like, or he said, I also said like only yes or no questions. So he's like, have you been on here a while? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, okay, well, I just want to, you know, let you know, like remind you, like he's like trying to like be nice but also do what I asked him. And he's like, you know, if you are in one position too long, like sometimes it's good to move around or something. And I like logged it in my brain and I was like, it's true, like, I was like, that's right, I do say that. So I got up and I was like really, I felt like I was like really releasing too on the toilet. Like it's I think a good place for a lot of women to labor because that's where you naturally are like trained to relax, you know, and release.
Yeah.
So my body was like clearing out a little bit. And actually I was feeling a little pushy while I was there, but I assumed it was like actually like pooping. Like a lot of women say when they like, oh, I feel like I have to poop. And that's like the pressure of the baby is saying like, you actually have to push. But again, I was like, no, like can't be that. Like, I'll just not push. Like, I'll just kind of continue to just think about being open. And that's my thing. I don't tense up at all. I don't even like ever, you know, go make fists. I just like, just ride the wave. And honestly, Emily, this birth was like a piece of cake. Like it never like hurt. Like it never, with my first, like it was, I think it was just like, it was a new sensation. And so I didn't tense up, but I was like, okay, this is kind of intense. Like, wow. When it was like active labor. And this, I was like, is it gonna like get worse? Like, when is it gonna but I could feel that they were, you know, coming closer together, the contraction times, and lasting longer.
And those didn't feel intense? Like it didn't like,
they all kind of felt the same. And I don't know if I was just in the flow state or what. I'm very aware during my births too, like of just like everything, like even like miles away chatter, like so I'm pretty hyper aware of my body. And so it was really fun to physically feel like as I'm pacing back and forth, like they're at the top of my, you can't see my belly, but they're at the top of my belly. And I literally would feel how they would actually move down.
Really?
So that's how you know you're progressing. Like you don't need.
I didn't even bother thinking that when it happened with me, or touching my belly at all. I didn't even touch my belly.
Yeah, it was just like, I just noticed the location of like where I was feeling sensations.
Wow. Yeah.
And I noticed like I felt them move down. And so it's like, okay, that's great. They're working, baby is moving down. Like it's like, that's how you measure your progress. Just things like that. And so Brian came in and said that, and I got up and I was like, okay, I'll move more. So I started walking back and forth, and he asked me, do you want the birth tub? And I was like, no, not yet. Because I was like, it's still just so manageable and so easy. And like, I kind of want to use that as like my secret weapon for like when I feel like I need something else.
Yeah.
To get me going.
Was having your first, a previous birth, like, you kind of knew what to expect the second time? Like, you're like, okay, this is how it feels. Like, I know what's going to come next. Like, or did you forget everything from the first birth in a way, and now it's like a new experience, or?
Yeah, I definitely didn't forget. But I will say, I mean, if you lean into it, it's pretty obvious what's going to happen. I mean, even basic knowledge, like, there's going to be sensations, and that a baby's going to come out of your vagina. Like, I don't know, you just need to emotionally prep for like letting that happen rather than like having to manage it. So like, even with my first, it's like almost like a little like what's happening to me, it's like, oh, like when the pushing started. But that was like, it was so nice not having anybody there, because it just, it is obvious what's happening. And it's not just because I had like a previous birth, but because like there's nobody distracting you. There's nobody for you to be like, I mean, what's happening, but if somebody else is there, especially like a medical professional with some sort of training, and they're supposed to tell you what's happening, then even if you're like, oh, I'm making progress, the baby's moving down, you're kind of like, well, let me check in and make sure that's right.
Yeah.
No, your intuition is correct. That's my belief. So yeah, like I didn't have to have that moment of like, I'm pushing, is that okay? Like, it was all just like, this is unfolding perfectly, and there was no questioning. There's no questioning. Like, it's just like listening to your body and being like, oh, this is cool. So my husband asked if I wanted the birth tub, and I was like, no, I think I'll like wait like at least 10 minutes or something. Okay. And then, because I was still listening to this music, I had this music playing, and I realized I had a couple sensations just in like one song. And I was like, geez, like one song's like, what, maybe 5 minutes? I was like, maybe I should get in the tub. Like, I don't know. So I let him know. I was like, actually, I think I want the tub. And he's like, okay. Like, and I think he heard that same thing. I was like, I guess I had a couple, like, and I was totally able to have conversation, right? Like in between, or even during if I wanted, but it's just like, it was, like when you have that rest, it really is just like rest. For me, it was. So he's like, yeah, I was gonna say, like, they're picking up, they're picking up. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like, I didn't even notice. So he got the birth tub ready, and I have like a little selfie of me and Fox like hanging out on the bed, just like a little, like I'm totally smiling and totally happy, and my husband's in the background getting the birth tub. So
and your friend birth photographer is not there yet.
She's on the plane.
Okay.
And I told her, come straight here.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he gets that set up, and I was like very excited to get in there, because I just love water. Like, being in water is amazing, and I knew it was going to be so nice, like hot water. Oh, it just sounded so good. So he's like, okay, it's ready. And I got in, and it was like halfway full, and I was like, can you please fill it up all the way? And he's like, I can, but like, I just wanted to, he was like, I don't know, like, hear me out, but if we fill it up all the way and you're in here a while and it gets cold, then I'm going to have to bail out water, and it'll take a little bit, and then I'll have to put hot water in. So if we start with it halfway, I can like slowly just keep adding water so it never gets cold. And I was like, all right, he's here with the logic again. Fine. Like, yeah, it's like stuff you don't want to hear. You're like, yeah, but it makes sense. And I got in there, and he had turned my music off. Like, I was like, are you kidding? Like, you have to, for me, it's just like, again, I'm hyper aware. So any change in my environment was like, impacts me so much. So I got in and it felt really nice, but it's just like I was hearing every single noise, especially Fox, like, and I did not want my like mama brain to turn on. So I was like, can you please turn my music back on? And he turned it on, but he turned it on his phone and he turned it on Spotify. And there was a sound quality difference, Emily. And like, when I tell you hyper aware, like I was like, I turned on, I was like, this isn't,
Yeah, you
this is
knew.
not what was happening before.
Yeah.
So I was like, can you turn it on exactly?
Yeah.
Exactly how it was, please?
Yeah.
And he came in with the logic and he's like, well, he's like, Spotify won't have commercials. I just thought maybe it might be better. I didn't even notice the commercials though. Like, I don't even remember that happening, but I was like, okay, that makes sense. So I got in the tub and it was so nice. And I was still like, I was feeling like that pressure to poop. And again, I was like, no way. Cause that was, what? Let's see. I texted Ryan at 1 and I know Finn was born around 5:30
a.m.
At night or in the afternoon.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was really fast. It was like
Oh my
over 4
gosh.
hours, you know?
Yeah.
And so again, just the whole time I'm just like, okay, well, you know, but
did you know your urge to poop, it was gonna come soon, or you still didn't know? I mean, you said it could be a while still.
Well, I was just like I knew what it meant, right? Like I was feeling pushy.
Okay.
It's just like that's how it registers. You're like, oh, like I have to poop. But like I knew it's like either it's mostly a baby, it's usually a baby, right? If you have to poop, but I'm like, maybe I do just have to poop, but I'm pretty sure it's a baby. So Ryan had started giving Fox a bath, which was like directly across the hall. So like I could see them, like their door was open, my door was open. And so I was feeling that. And again, like I don't tell Ryan anything. I just like doing it like just by myself, hands off, like it was just great. And so I was like, you know what? I had been feeling that feeling long enough where I was like, okay, I'll like give in. I'll give it a push and see what happens. Because again, like your body will take over even if you didn't do anything. So I was just kind of like focusing, like feeling that feeling, but focusing on being open. Because I also was like, what if baby's just putting pressure? And I had this idea of like I didn't want to not like inflame myself, but like I don't know the word I'm looking for, but I didn't want to like strain my cervix.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to make sure I was really, really open so that when I did push, it'd be a piece of cake. It wouldn't take like it wouldn't be long, like just like yeah. And I knew if I focused on just staying open, like my body would eventually just take over and push the baby out for me. Like, you know, there's no holding it in really. So I gave a push and I was like, well, worst case scenario, poop in the tub, like whatever.
Yeah.
And my water broke, which was the weirdest feeling because it, like I said before, which I think you said your water broke first.
Yeah. When did yours break?
So with Finn, I mean, it broke like right before he was born.
Okay.
I was in the tub and I was feeling that like need to push, and I pushed, and I had never felt that before, like my water breaking, and which again could be a reason, like maybe my sensations were a little more cushioned in my second birth, which is like why they didn't feel as intense as my first.
Interesting.
Don't know. And it feels like a water balloon popping, like it's so weird. And so I said out loud, I was like, whoa. And I mean, Ryan didn't hear that though. And right after that, it was like the head was like, wow, like there, like just dropped right in. And so I told Ryan, I was like, okay, the baby's coming soon. And I didn't know, like I didn't find the gender out for either of my kids, but
you felt the head pop out and then you felt it with your hands?
Like, so his head like came just like right, like it was like.
And you're laying in the tub, right? I mean, you're upright?
That's a good question. Yeah, I'm like upright on my knees. So I'm kind of like leaning on like the rail of the bed and like on my knees that are like nice and spread wide open. So almost like all fours, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I could just feel it. I don't think I reached, maybe I did reach down with my hands and felt, I can't remember, but it was just very obvious that like, boom, the head's there it's ready. And the way I was talking to, like my body was like, pushing time, it's engaged, you know, like I was like, oh, like I couldn't even not do it. And so I told him like, the baby's coming. And he's like, what, really? Oh, okay, like let me go put Fox down, like to bed. And I wanted to tell him he didn't have time, but it just like, again, I was like, what if he does? I don't know. Like, I just don't like, I just like, you know, I like sitting back and I like just like waiting and yeah, I don't know, and doing it on my own. So I was like, I don't want to like say it because I guess I don't know 100% for sure. Maybe it'll take a while to push. I just tell myself these things again. It's like a coping mechanism or something, like to make sure I have like enough reserves or something to go a long time. I don't know. But so he went and I was like, in my head, I was like, you don't have time, but oh well. And he goes in Fox's room, shuts the door, turns on his sound machine and everything. And so I start pushing. Like I just, right after that, I do one push and his head comes out. And I was like, honey, like, don't you, like, baby's coming, like, do you want to see? But he couldn't hear me. So that was hilarious. So I was like, and I literally said out loud, I was like, oh, he's just gonna miss the coolest part then, like, and just that was it. And so it was really fun. Like I just love birth and I love the feeling of birth. And so his head came out and I felt like his little ear. And I felt the rotation when his head slowly rotates. So it's like he's out and then like a second later they kind of slowly rotate and it's kind of another little like boop, because then like their whole little chin comes out and everything. And it felt like he was out for a long time. Like maybe it was a minute, and a minute feels kind of like a long time in birth, even 30 seconds. I don't know how long it was, but it's like I'm like sitting there, I'm so aware. I'm like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. And I should mention too, like when I got in the tub, my sensations like turned way down in terms of intensity and frequency. It was nuts. Like I was like, am I still in labor? Like what's happening? Like they spaced way out. It was weird. I was like, am I gonna have to get out or is this still happening? Like what? And that's just like water. That's a natural like pain relief. Like it's incredible. Wow. Yeah. It's just, I was just like in there, just like, okay, like, wait, am I still doing birth? And so like, oh, his head came out and I felt his little ear. Such a good memory. And he like kicked while he was still like halfway, you know, he was like, his head was out, but he was in and he kicked. And I was like, well, that was weird.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, I think he wants to come out. Well, I didn't know it was a boy, but I was like, I think they want to go. Like, I think I'm ready to get them out. So I pushed again and I like roar like really loud. Like I let out like a lot of energy through my mouth. And it's almost like, it makes you think of like karate where like you have to like breathe out with your movements and it like, I don't know, gives you more strength or like when you're working out, because it just like, it like displaces the energy. Like it's really interesting. And I did it like a little with my first, but it's like almost like I'm breathing out. Like I didn't feel any pain. There was no ring of fire kind of thing, which I was familiar with my first. And yeah, so I just like screamed really loud and like he was born and it was great. And I pulled him up and he was like screaming his head off. It was crazy how like much he was crying. I was like, what? Like, no, be happy.
Yeah.
And
Brian's still not there.
He's still not there. Yeah, he missed it. I was like, oh, he's missing the coolest part. Like the only part you would want to like see, he's not there. And my birth photographer friend did not make it.
So how many pushes or like, do you remember?
Two.
Just two.
Oh, well, I mean, one with my water breaking,
okay,
and then just two for the baby.
Okay, when you say baby, because I like to know too, because when I think about my birth, but like the second push was for the head or for the body?
So yeah, push water breaks and then push and his head came out. And then that was like, I was just like hanging out and feeling his ear and like chilling. And then he
Yeah.
kicked and I was like, okay, I'm going to push again. Which was interesting. It was almost like I chose to push. It wasn't like a contraction came on and it pushed involuntarily. I was like, I'm going to get him out.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was the last push.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
how do you get him? Are you still in that position leaning on?
Yeah, I was in that position. So I just like leaned, like I picked him up and leaned back and
So
lifted
he
him.
gets into the water when you push. He goes into the water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like kind of caught him in the water and pulled him up.
Uh-huh.
He didn't like chill in the water for a while, which I
Okay.
know is totally fine, but like I'm so impatient to meet my child. I'm like,
Yeah.
get up here. And I unwrapped the cord from his neck and honestly, I know that's a thing people are worried about, but it's like it's not even a thing.
It was at that time it wasn't even a concern for you.
No, not at all. I don't think of that as a concern whatsoever. Because they're still getting oxygen and yeah.
Through the cord.
Yeah, and honestly, it's just so common. Like, I don't even know if I've heard of a kid not having their cord wrapped around their neck. So yeah, I just like pulled him up and I, went like that. But he was already screaming. So there was no like, I was just trying to comfort him, honestly. And I just like I kind of sat back, and leaned against the tub and was like, oh, like it was like really sweet having a moment with him, but it was already like, oh my gosh, you're crying. What can I do for you? So I was like, comforting him and Ryan came in and he's like, what? He's like, the baby's here already? Oh, and I checked if it was a boy or girl, and it was a boy, my second little boy. And that was like one of the first things I did for like both my kids. I was like, what is it? So yeah, Ryan came in, he's like, the baby's here. And I was like, it's a boy. And he's like, oh my gosh, like that was so quick, like I guess he just wasn't expecting it. And I was like, yeah. And I asked him to like pass me a towel because I was like, maybe he's cold and that's why he's crying. And I was trying to latch him and he was like not interested. He was just screaming.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was so sweet. And we just hung out there a little bit while I was trying to like get him to calm down. And then Ryan's like, do you want to get out of the tub? Because I was like, oh, like, I mean, because you start bleeding and like a drop of blood in water is like gonna turn the entire pool red. So it's like helpful for, it's like we're still doing things to like make sure that we're doing this safely and like everything's going okay, right? And so like keeping an eye that you're not like profusely bleeding or something is like nice to do, even though you would feel it if you were. And so I was like, oh, like, yeah, I guess. But like I was like, I mean, it's not like I'm not bleeding that much or anything. He's like, I know, but there's also like poop and stuff in the pool.
Oh, so there was poop.
Yeah, there was like a little poop, and he's like, and there's like, mucus. It's just like birth stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'll get out. Like, sure. And so I just walked over to the bed and
And you're completely naked.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. When did I get completely naked? Probably when I was going, it was when I went in the tub.
Okay.
Yeah. Because of course you're gonna be, you're giving birth.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went to the bed and we had also done we had like a clean set of sheets and then a plastic liner and then another set of sheets. So it doesn't matter if you like bleed on the sheets or whatever. And also blood comes out like so easy.
It does. It does.
It does. I know that can be a concern for people, but like you just throw it in the wash. If you want, you can pre-treat it. Or like hydrogen peroxide just like takes it out in a snap, but you just throw it in the wash.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that and like I think I had like a Chuck's pad or something under and so yeah, I finally got him to calm down because he was just like, I think he was just like, why am I here? Like I want to go back in the room. And I had a little heater too because I'm like thinking, I'm like, are you cold?
This is February.
It is. It's February.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cold out. The house was fine, but I just wanted him to be like extra snuggly. Yeah. And I mean, I felt great. Like it was just so nice. It was so easy. It was awesome. He finally latched. So then he calmed down. He finally latched, which was like such a beautiful moment because I don't know. There's always just like a little like thing of like, will this happen? Will this go okay for me? It's kind of like, you know, it's gonna happen, but until it happens, it's just like, oh, like a sense of relief and like, I don't know, the oxytocin is so great.
So, well, quick question. So, since you were already breastfeeding Finn, did Fox, newborn Fox, get milk?
Yeah. Yeah. So I know that was like a question of mine too. But yeah, you just keep your milk. And so Fox, yeah, so I was breastfeeding Fox. So Finn, yeah, he just got like milk. He was like sputtering. He was like like right, like my letdown was really strong for him because it was like a toddler letdown. Like um that's something we navigated super easy. We did laid back feeding, which is essentially like really like reclined feeding, to kind of like help slow that like letdown. So it's not like this just like spraying down into their mouth.
Interesting. I didn't know. Okay, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I have like an awesome recliner rocker thing that I kept in the nursery, but I brought it into our room for like the immediate postpartum, and it was like at the foot of our bed. And yeah, so that's where I did like a lot of our feeding so I could lean back. And we had to do that, I don't know, at least the first few weeks. I probably tried to do most of those feedings laid back for like the first 6 weeks until he kind of like regulated, and also he learned, you know, a little bit. But yeah, that was pretty funny. It was just like, boom, here's the milk.
Okay,
yeah.
so you guys are in bed and he latches, and then what happens next?
We just hang out. Let's see, did I do the placenta before he started cooking? I can't remember, but it was kind of like, I think, oh, that's what it was like. Ryan was cleaning up, just like draining the pool and, you know, doing whatever. And I was just feeding him. And then I had told Ryan to ask me around 30 minutes after baby was born if I was feeling any cramping or anything. Kind of like, oh, ask me 30 minutes. And then if nothing's happening, ask me in another 30 minutes or whatever. But I knew that I just like wouldn't be focused on it. So he's like, hey, like no pressure, but just want to let you know, you know, you asked me to tell you like 30 minutes. Like, isn't he so sweet? He did his jobs. Like he did his jobs.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he's like, are you feeling anything? And I like tuned back into my body because like you're so focused on your baby. You're not even paying attention to yourself really. Except for bleeding. Like I was just making sure like, yep, normal, you know, like that was all fine. And I was like, oh, I am feeling a little bit crampy. Oh my gosh, like I did not even notice. And so I asked him to go get like a big glass bowl. And then I like went up on my knees over it and just kind of was like, okay, just chilling. And then it was like the pressure of the placenta. It's like if you've given birth, you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like all of a sudden, boom, like heavy pressure. And I was like, oh, there it is. And it just like plopped out, you know?
Wait, so was there any pushing? Did you have to push placenta out?
Not really. Not really. It just kind of plopped. Yeah. Like was, yeah, again, not hard. And so that was nice to just like have that done. And we just lay back down, and then I was like starving. So I asked him to go make me some food. And I had thought about like in early labor, I was like, should I like put something in the crock pot or I don't know, but it was like a fleeting thought. And then I was so hungry. I was like, okay, like future thing, like I should cook before, like, oh my gosh, because we didn't have anything even like leftovers or anything in the fridge either because we had just gone grocery shopping. So
you hadn't eaten, how long has it been since you ate? It was like,
I don't know, to be honest. Like,
day.
I don't even know if I had a snack or anything. Like, I'm sure I had breakfast.
Okay.
You know, but I wasn't hungry during labor. Like I didn't want to eat. I forgot. I did throw up. I threw up once, and that was something that did happen in my first birth. That when you said like, oh, do you know what to expect? Like that was one thing I learned to expect. I was like, oh, I'll probably throw up. Like I had a trash can with a bag liner already and was like just walking, and I was like, oh, I think I might throw up, and just like, you know, like, and my husband's like, oh, you okay? And I was like, yeah, fine. You know,
when did you puke? What, like, was this after, you know, 6 a.m. when you woke back up with with
That was no, it was in the middle of labor. It was like, I think it was after I got off the toilet or something, or had I gone on the toilet yet? It was like everything's so
yeah, it blends in. Yeah.
I know. It was just, I don't know. It
But
was
you
when I was
did
pacing,
puke.
yeah, it was when I was pacing back and forth, and it's like such a I just like don't even hardly remember, because it was just like, yep, thought that might happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it wasn't like I know that for some people throwing up could be like a mark of transition or something, but it wasn't very obvious in that kind of way. It wasn't like, oh, I just threw up and now things are harder or something. Like, it was just very like, yeah, body's clearing out,
So
normal.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so yeah, I was hungry.
You know what's funny? We don't see that in TV or movies. The puking or diarrhea during birth. It's totally skipped. I know it doesn't happen for every woman, but it's not shown. But it does happen.
We don't see anything. We don't see anything realistic in TV for birth. So
yeah,
makes sense. Like a peaceful birth at home.
Yeah.
That like doesn't hurt, and you don't need a savior.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see the woman like peeing in the tub.
Yeah. So Ryan is making you food, and your placenta is out, and
yeah,
you're in bed.
We're just chilling, and I was on such a high. Like, I had a lot of energy. I wanted to call like all my family and tell them, but I wanted to like eat first. So we ate, and then we called my parents, and I hadn't told anybody I was doing a free birth, just because like that's what felt right to me. I just like, I knew there'd be questions and like opinions and concerns, and I just like wasn't interested in engaging in it. Especially because I knew there'd be like more like some fear-based questions from like my mom and stuff, especially just considering how like some of my family acted with my home birth. Like that was wild.
Yeah, tell me how you navigated all of that, and who did you tell, the second time around?
Yeah.
Free birth?
I told like strangers or like friends, like, because they're not gonna say anything, like they're gonna, like, anybody I told, they were like, oh, that's so cool, which was actually nice. But I didn't want to tell my family, because I just didn't feel like engaging with their opinions and teaching them. It takes like so much energy to teach people, like, to help them unlearn like societal things, and like it almost feels like, because it's so close to your heart when you're doing it yourself, it like almost feels like a fight or like some sort of rebuttal and all this. And like, I just chose to just sit with the peace, and like, that was that. I didn't outright lie. I didn't say like, I have a midwife or anything. I just like artfully dodged questions. And so my mom would ask, oh, how, did you find midwife, or like, how are your appointments going, or just like, is there anything or whatever? And I would just kind of always answer like, I'm fine, baby's fine, everything's good, nothing new. Like, that's just kind of what I said. Nobody else really asked. Like, my brothers didn't like call up and were like, oh, what midwife are you using?
Yeah.
They didn't care. So yeah, that just felt really good for me. And when I did tell them, so yeah, I had called. I think I told them the next day, because again, it's just like, I was just protecting my space, and I think that's like a perfectly reasonable decision, I would say. So I don't think anybody needs to like feel burdened to tell people. I don't know. And so yeah, we called them, and they're like, oh, the baby, we did a FaceTime, and my mom did ask something like, is the midwife still there? Or like, what, how much does he weigh? Like, things that like don't even matter.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, everything's so great. Like, we'll tell you more tomorrow, or whatever I did. Like, it's just, again, like, who cares what baby weighs?
Yeah.
Like, it's obvious when baby's healthy. And we did weigh him eventually, just like for fun. But yeah, I think that's all we did. It's like, I'm not gonna like measure my baby. I don't really care.
Right?
Yeah. I don't know. So that was really fun. I did tell my mom the next day, and she said, she was like, I'm really glad you didn't tell me until after. She's like, because I like call it, like she would have been just totally, I don't even know, just fear-based and like, I don't know, it's hard for other people to understand, especially just like different, I don't know, their own personal experiences. Like my mom had a lot of C-sections, and yeah, it would have taken, like, it's like you don't want to be like helping somebody through their past trauma while you're preparing for your birth. I guess that's like what I didn't want to do. So yeah, that was really fun. And then eventually we did a cord burning ceremony, which was amazing, and I highly recommend it. It was just like so lovely. It felt so purposeful and like, oh, like so sweet, and like I wish it was more of a thing these days.
Yeah. And how long did you wait until you did the cord burning?
I don't even know. A while. We ate, we called family, we hung out. It's kind of just like the last thing to do before bed, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because I didn't want to do a lotus birth, which I also think is cool, but I was really interested in the cord burning. So I was like, well, either like I gotta wrap up the placenta and salt it, or like we gotta do that, you know, like before we go to bed. So, you know, by that point it's like probably 11 p.m. at least. So I guess it was a while. I didn't realize it was that long. Yeah, so my husband had made a cord burning box. I still have it. It's so sweet. And I had gotten these, you know, beeswax candles, and yeah, like it took maybe 15, 20 minutes to fully burn through, and it was just like really beautiful. Like you're just sitting there, and like and part of it, like you're thinking about, wow, like this is the last time he's kind of connected to a part of me, and like Ryan really enjoyed it. He's like, this is incredible. Just like you just feel the presence of like birth and death and like ancestors and like life, and it's just, anyway, I'm going on a tangent, but I really loved it.
Oh, is your friend there yet? The birth photographer? Did you get pictures?
No, we didn't do pictures because so she landed and I had already had him, and she said, do you want me to come over? And it's like, you know, no, like, because I don't know, I just wanted to, I don't know,
Be there, be present.
Yeah, just be by myself. And so she had family in town, so she, like, part of what we had decided when I had mentioned it to her about like maybe coming out, she's like, yeah, like let's just, you know, pick a date and stuff, and even if it doesn't happen, like I'm just getting a family in with a visit in with family, like, so the pressure was kind of off with that too. And so she just went to her families. I said no, and she's like, okay, well, like maybe, I was like, maybe we'll do like a postpartum session like 2 days in or something or whatever. That did not happen because 2 days, like that 2-3 day mark is like where you're feeling kind of like weepy sometimes, or like there's just like a lot going on and you're like, whoa, this is my life now. This is like, you're like settling in, and like a baby needs you all the time. My other baby needs me all the time. Like I just never ended up doing any pictures, which was like totally fine. I do have like one video. I think I asked Ryan to take a video right after he was born, so I have like a video of me holding like the screaming baby in the water. You know, but yeah, that's mostly it for photos. So yeah, we did the cord burning, and just
did you keep the cord, or like what'd you do with the cord?
We put my placenta in the freezer. I did wait, did I keep the cord? I'm trying to remember. I know I have a cord, but I think it was Fox's. Emily, I don't know. Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I should ask. I think the part that, because you know, like some of it, it's like you tie with baby, and then the other part I think just went in the freezer with the placenta.
Okay. Still in the freezer. You have Foxes and Fins in the freezer?
Fox I did placenta encapsulation with. Okay. Yeah. And I dehydrated, which I know how to do. Like we just did it ourselves. I dehydrated his cord in a little heart. So I have his little his cord in a heart. I gotta check on Finn's. It might be buried in the freezer. I don't know. I didn't care this time. I was kind of like, I don't know, maybe I'll bury it with a tree, but like, I don't know, just didn't care that much. But I have the cord burning box, which is like kind of, that's my like equivalent keepsake.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I lived with, like in the recliner with my baby for, those first few weeks. Like I always sleep with my babies the first, like, I don't know, they don't really sleep in a bassinet.
Yeah.
Like they're like, they need to be there and eating all the time. And it's so sweet and everything went well and cloth diapered and breastfeeding was great. Oh my gosh. And it's so crazy, Emily. That was the first night Fox slept through the night. And he, from that point on, like, more often than not, like slept through the night. It was crazy. It was like, he knew when he was gonna not be the baby and he was up all night. And then he knew when he had to like step it up. And like,
oh my God.
be the big brother. He still woke up occasionally, of course, but like, yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Wow.
And that was 2 under 2, and I thought I was gonna die in terms of like stress for the first few days after my husband left. He was able to be home for about 2 weeks, because no paid family leave. It was the same with my first birth too, which is just not long enough. It's not. I would love more support.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, oh my gosh, she got home that day, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this again, like, because I was so used to carrying my first all the time and holding him all the time, but now the new baby, and so it's so hard because you don't want either of them to be upset. Like that's where I was coming from, and somebody might be crying for a minute because you have to deal with the other one, and it's like your heart just breaks. And you obviously learn, and it was like we got into a groove and it was fine, but having 2 under 2 was like, that was a big transition. I do say, in terms of postpartum though, I do say like Finley really healed me, because postpartum was so much better, and his birth too. Like I just like was so much more relaxed. I let a lot like go. Like I knew that things weren't so black and white, and like if he didn't nap, that was okay, or like it was just a lot different. I think especially because my birth experience, like being so empowered and believing in myself, and I just wanted to like see people right away too. Like I invited a friend over like the next day. I was like, I was just like energized. It's very different than when you're like shot up with Pitocin and like, just ugh. But when you have like an empowering, joyful birth, you're just like, this is amazing, and I feel great. And I was at like a coffee shop like the first week and stuff, and I advocate rest for sure. Like definitely don't just go running about. But like the healing for me was so fast.
Wow.
Like I felt incredible, and I just wanted to like hang out, and there was no tears or anything. Like when you tear, because if you pee, it really like you can feel it.
Yeah.
It really stings, I should say. So it was just like great. It was a piece of cake, and I definitely attribute a lot of that to the fact that it was a free birth. I mean, I think if more women knew how like pleasant birth could be, like how birth should go, just simple and easy, and like not overthought and not managed, like I think more women would really enjoy it. And yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, Alexa, what a beautiful story.
Yeah, thank you for letting me talk for so long, Emily. Thanks for letting me share my story.
Thank you for sharing your birth story to me and to the world.
Yeah, I'm here if anybody has any questions, because like I would give birth like 100 times more. Like it's amazing. I love it.
Powerful. It's a rite of passage.
Yeah.
This is Alexa Erickson, and you could find her at mamafreebirth.com or check her out on Instagram at mama.freebirth. Thank you so much, Alexa.
Thank you. Have a good night.